Another thing you may come across with order by looks like this. Order by and then a number. What on earth does that mean? It's basically a shorthand syntax that says order by the second column that we're selecting. So if we're selecting title, author F name, and author L name, order by that second thing, I guess it saves you a little bit of typing so you don't have to type author F name. Let me show an example of that. So let's do select. Title is kind of long, but let's do book ID and then author F name, author L name, and let's do pages from books. Okay, so I want to sort by pages. One option, of course, is just to say order by pages. I mean, that's not that much work. And what did I mess up here? I somehow got rid of the table name. From books, order by pages. And that works fine. But the syntax I'm showing you here is we can replace pages with a number. This would be the first column, second, third, and this is the fourth column. I'll sort by or order by 4, and we get the same result. Null, 176, up to 634. And then, of course, I could say descending and go the other direction. If I want to sort by author first name, I could say order by 2. I'm honestly not really a fan of this. It's just not as clear. If you look at this, you then have to go reference over here. So maybe it saves you a couple of characters of typing, but it clutters it makes your code less meaningful, less obvious if someone else is looking at it, or just future you is looking at it. But as you can see here, when I do 2, we're sorting by author F name, so the first name, in descending order. So from Z to A, in our case, Raymond to Dan and Null. The next thing I'll show you with order by is that we can actually order by multiple columns. So when we do this, we'll sort by one column first, and then secondly, we'll sort by the second column, or third, or fourth, and fifth. So it's not saying sort them together, it's sorting by this and then this column. So I'll show you an example where this might make sense. Let's do a select author L name, and then how about released year, and then finally title from books. Okay, so here's our result. Nothing is ordered by yet. But now, let's say I want to order by author last name. I want to see them sorted by the author's last name. And so now we see all the Carver books together, all the Eggers books together, Foster Wallace, Gaiman. But then within each group there, right, where the author last name is the same, there could be an additional sort. Maybe I want them also to be sorted by the release year, because right now, if we look at Eggers, we have 2012, 2013, and then 2001. Or if we look at Gaiman, we have 2016, 2001, 2003. So secondarily, I could add on after author L name in my order by right here, I'll say then order by released year. So this now will look very similar, at least on the left-hand side, where we see the last names. But what has changed is the order of the rows within each one of these chunks. So within the Eggers grouping, we now have 2001, 2012, 2013. Again, compare that to what we had before. We still had the 3 Eggers rows together, but their order within that grouping was different. It was 12, 13, and 1, right? And now it is 1, 12, and 13. And then same thing with Neil Gaiman, 2001, 2003, 2016. And we could sort by a third value, like by title. It's just that we don't really have any any duplicate values for release year. So there's no real way for me to show you that it works, but you could keep going. And we can also change direction. So I could say I want to actually sort released year descending. So DESC. So we're still sorting ascending for author last name. That happens first. All the rows are going to be ordered by author last name alphabetically A to Z. And then after that, we will sort by released year, and this is descending. So 2013, most recent, then 12, and then 2001 for Dave Eggers. Or for Carver, we have 89 and then 81. So that's how you can sort by multiple values, one column, and then another column afterwards. And then one last thing that I should show you about order by is that we can also order by columns that aren't necessarily part of the table, but are results or values that we've asked SQL for. For example, remember that we can do things like concat, right? Select concat And then let's take author F name, comma, author L name. And then I guess I'll put a space in there. And let's call that as full name, or just, how about just author? As author from books. Okay, so we're not sorting anything, but we're just getting these full names using concat. I can then order by author, if that's the name that I gave my column there that I retrieved, right? This is not part of the database. It's not part of the table. There's no column called author, but I have aliased this information, called it author using the as word, using as, and then I can order by author. As you can see there, we go Dan Harris all the way down to Raymond Carver, and I think that's good enough. I hope you get the picture there. By using an alias, I can then reference that name and order by later on. So there's a lot to order by, but at the end of the day, usually I use it just to order by alphabetically, but more commonly numerically, and occasionally I want something to be descending instead of the default ascending. And then, somewhat rarer, you can order by multiple columns, one after another, as we saw here.